Welcome to Transcendental Basis Base of Vedic Knowledge Glimpses. In Glimpse 1, we have been face to face with lively transcendental state prior to manifestation. As Glimpse 2, we have been face to face with Dvadas Jyotirlingam. As Glimpse 3, we have been face to face with dynamic state solar universe values format of Dhatu part. Today we are being at Glimpse-4. It is about Shri Durga Saptasati. It is the end reach value of Vidya, and it is the initiation point of sadhana. Vidya is meant for preparing oneself for sadhana. Therefore, with this glimpse, we shall be having a takeoff for the sadhana. Glimpse-4 is a glimpse of Shri Durga Saptasati. The enlightenment and reach fruit of this scripture is that this Vidya will forcefully take Gyanis, knowledgeable persons, on a sadhana path. Shri Durga Saptasati is a scripture of 700 shlokas. We can recapitulate that Srimad Bhagavad Gita as well is a scripture of 700 shlokas. Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Shri Durga Saptasati are the pair of scriptures of 700 shlokas each. Hirdesthanam as well is a setup of 700 values. This Hirdesthanam values is the source, is the transcendental base. Hirde means the fourth chakra of human body. Fourth chakra means four space body, means hypercube 4, means a body which is presided by Lord Brahma, Creator the Supreme. We further know that Lord Brahma with formulation Brahma takes us to value 29. This scripture, Srimad Durga Saptasati, is a scripture of 13 chapters, and the 13th chapter, the last chapter, is of 29 shlokas range. We can further recapitulate that Srimad Bhagavad Gita is a scripture of 18 chapters, and its 5th chapter is of 29 shlokas range. Therefore, reaching at the 5th means starting from 1 and reaching up till 5. It is a transcendental range. It will take to value 29 along the organization format of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. However, Durga Saptasati is the scripture which in its 13th step will be taking us to value 29. Therefore, value 29 is the basic value. It is the value of the formulation Brahma, and this reach is a reach of Srimad Bhagavad Gita at its fifth step. The shlokas of chapter 5 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita are 29. And first chapter we know is of 47 shlokas range. The difference value is 18. Further, we know that the Srimad Durga Sapsati in its 13th step as 13th chapter is of the range of 29 shlokas. Further, we know that this value 29 and 29 is 58, which is the TC value of Krishna Dvaipayan. Krishna Dvaipayan. It is the 28th transcendental name of Ved Vyas. So Maharishi Ved Vyas in its 28th transcendental stage is as Krishna Dvaipayan is of value 58, which is equal to 29 plus 29, and it is this reach which deserves to be comprehended well as to how in 5 steps and in 13 steps will be having a reach at value 5, and this reach will be of 29 plus 29 is equal to 58 value. Further, we know the pair of values 29 and 29 synthesize as value 31, which is the value of a transcendental carrier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we know it is the value of the 31 structural components of cube representative regular body of 3 space. And further, we know that 4 space is enveloped by a solid boundary with domain boundary ratio is equal to 8b raised to power 3. Therefore, this is this value, which is the value with which at the center there is a transcendental origin which is of a solid order. As such, from middle, from Madhya is going to emerge a solid order. And further, we know that Madhu means Ma, Ad, U. So this value 9, which is 9th geometry of the 4 space, when is at the middle, and when Ad means at this half dimension, when the solid order will be transcending, it is to be visualized, comprehended. One is to be face to face with it, and one is to curb it, one is to meet it. That is why the very first chapter of Srimad Durga Sapsati will take us that there are 2 devils, Madhu and Ketap, and like that in all there are 9 devils, and there are 9 Durgas, 9 goddess. So these 9 goddess incarnations and these 9 devils. So one shall sit comfortably and have a fresh look at the contents of this scripture, Srimad Durga Saptasati, and then draw a first table, and it would be a table of this table, say call it a table 1, and in column 1 there are the serial numbers of the chapters. In column 2 are the uvachas of these chapters. Then there are ardha shlokas, there are complete shlokas. This is total number of shlokas, and end reach is 700. So this organization format features table be drawn. Then at the next step, one shall sequentially reach at with the focus upon the shlokas and the total number of shlokas. One will see that we are beginning with chapter 1, which is a chapter 1 which is of value 104. Further we know value 104 gives an organization 13 into 8. Still further we know that 4 space hypercube 4 is a spatial order space, and in it we know there is a dimensional frame of quadruple spatial dimensions. There are quadruple spatial dimensions which as such lead us to value 8. Further we know that within 4 space cube, a 12-edged cube is having a degree of freedom of motion, and this degree of freedom of motion manifests the 13th edge. Therefore, within 4 space, a 4 space domain as such is swept by a cube of 13th edge. And still further we know that this 4 space is enveloped by a solid boundary of 8 components. Therefore, the first step is a step of when we are having a sweeping of 4 space in terms of hypercube of 13-edged setup, then this 13-edged setup will be covering all the 8 solid boundary components, and it will be giving us a value 13 into 8 is equal to 104. Therefore, this is one feature which is to be comprehended, and by comprehending this feature, we will be in a position to appreciate as to how the chapter 1, which is of the range of 104 shlokas, and it is giving us an organization 13 into 8. And it is this organization which is giving us this setup when we are starting with hypercube 4. So within hypercube 4, there is a degree of freedom of motion for solids. It manifests as 13-edged cube, and this 13-edged cube along all the 8 solid boundary components will be as such leading us to value 13 into 8 is equal to 104. It is one step in terms of which we can have an insight about the initial organization format features of chapter 1 as of the range of 104 shlokas. A step ahead, we know the chapter 2 is a chapter of 69 value. Value 69 we know accepts an organization is 3 into 23. Further we know 23 is the TCV value of formulation Devi. Still further we know that value 23 is equal to 3 plus 5 plus 3 into 5. Therefore, the transcendental origin of 4 space, which is having 5 space in the role of an origin, and 5 space is of a solid order. It is therefore a manifestation that we are having 3 space as dimension, 5 space as a domain, 3 plus 5 is superimposition, and 3 into 5 is an expansion. Therefore, it is this value 23 which will be available along all the 3 directions of the dimensions, a solid dimensional order, giving us value 69. One shall sit comfortably and permit the transcending mind to be face to face with this feature as to how the organization of chapter 1 of Srimad Durga Saptashti, as it is a start within a creator's space where there happens to be a manifestation of degree of freedom motion resulting into 12 is to cube into 13th as cube, and the whole coordination as such comes to be a value 104. Now within this 4-space domain where there happens to be a manifestation of a degree of freedom motion as 13th h, and further we know value 13 is equal to 4 plus 5 plus 4. Therefore it is this feature which in fact will be splitting. Therefore the 4-space domain as such with 5 space in the role of an origin. When origin splits out, then it means it goes to the value 5, 4, 5 and 4. It is this value 30. It is this feature of 13 which we know is in fact amounting to a transcendental cavity at the seat of transcendental origin. And we know this transcendental cavity as such would be enveloped within a creative boundary of a 10 components. As we know, a raised to power 5 is equal to 10 b raised to power 4, and it is here where 13 plus 10 is equal to 23 is going to be the value available. It is this availability of a value and availability along all the 3 directions of the solid dimensional frame will be leading us to value 69. Further we know that the Devanagari script of value 3, Devanagari script value of value 6, and then it is going to be this format will be leading us to a first reflection, and then there is going to be a separate second reflection, and it is going to be a reach back, a superimposition here. It is in this manifested form that the setup is within creator's space at its seat of a transcendental origin, where happens to be a transcendental cavity, and it is this transcendental cavity which is to be transcended upon. It is this transcendental cavity which is to be glimpsed. Therefore, sadhakas, when are on the enlightenment path of the organization format of Shri Durga Saptashti, then they are at the first step of having a degree of freedom of motion for the solids within a 4-space domain. And then this transition and transformation from a static state to a dynamic state will make a transcendental cavity, and it is this transcendental cavity at the seat of the transcendental origin of the creator's space which will be taking us to a double reflection, 3 into 6 and then back 6 into 3. It is within creator's space. We know the creator's space is a spatial order space, and we know within a spatial order will be having a simultaneous availability of linear and spatial. So it is this transition from linear order to a cyclic order within a spatial dimensional setup which will be taking us to first reflection, and at the second reflection it is that we are reverting back to the original position. Now it is this feature which deserves to be comprehended well for being face to face with the organization format features of the scripture Durga Saptashti. At the third step we know a value is going to be 44. Now see, we have seen that within 4 space there is a degree of freedom of motion which happened to be the 13th h, and further we know this value is having a reach of 4, 4 and a 5. Therefore, this degree of freedom of motion, this 13th edge, is having a coordination with the transcendental origin. Now, it is this interconnection and coordination will be leaving us values 4 on either side. Now, it is this value 44 with this joint, transcendental joint. And transcendental joint we know is of a transcendental cavity. Transcendental cavity we know is having an enveloping for the 5 space origin by 10 creative components. And further we know 44 is equal to 40 plus 4. So it is this feature of this value 44 which deserves to be comprehended well. One shall sit comfortably and permit the transcending mind to be face to face with this initial stage of value 104, then reaching at value 69, and thereafter reaching at value 44. Once one is through these 3 sequential steps, and once the 3 sequential steps are available, and once we are here, then we can appreciate that 44 and 42 value are interconnected as domain and a dimension. 42 as dimension and 44 as a domain is the reach. It is this feature which deserves to be comprehended well. A step ahead, when we are reaching at value of 29, it is going to be 3 into 43, and 43 is the value which we know is 15 plus 30 plus 15, and this we know is going to be in the negative orientation minus 13, minus 15 and minus 15. This will help us appreciate as to how the hypercube minus 13 will be having is value equal to minus 15 minus 15. This way further we know that value 13 as dimension leads us to value 15 as a domain, and 15 we know is equal to 1 into 3 into 5. Further we know it is equal to the transcendental domain within a solid dimensional frame of 5 solid dimensions of value 15, which is the TC value of a Tej. One shall have a pause here. One shall sit comfortably and one shall stop here. Today's chase shall be restricted up till this chain of steps, 5 steps. How value 104, 69, 44, 42 and 129. How these values, how the artifices of these values are available to us, how these are being availed, how these are helping us organize, how we are in a position to reach at the organization format of Shri Durga Sapsati. This is in fact a 13 steps range, but today we are stopping up till the 5th step. Therefore, students as sadhakas shall revisit the text, see, reach at table 1, then reach at steps 1 to 5. Further, it would be blissful that one draws a table of the 9 devils who have been reduced to their 0 value by the goddess. Now, these formulations Madhu, Katav, Mahishasur, Dhrumarlochan, Chand, Mund and Raktabij, Nishumb and Shumb. These are the 9 formulations. One shall reach at their TCV values, one shall reach at their geometric formats, and simultaneously one shall reach at the another table of the 9 Navdurga, 9 goddesses, Shailputri, Brahmacharni, Chandraghanta, Kushmanda, Skandamata, Katyayani, Kalratri, Mahagauri, Siddhiratri, Datri. Now reach at their TCV values, then reach at the total value 336, and we know these are the goddess, transcendental goddess, so it is going to be of a Tej of the solid dimensional frame of 5 solid dimensions of value 15, which is the TC value of a punch. And we know that Devi is Anant. It is of TC value 23, which is of Anant and which is of Sahastra. As such, the values 1 to 1000 lead us to 168 primes. Therefore, it leads us to value 519, which is the value of 283 letters of 16 Ganita Sutras and 236 letters of 13 Ganita Sutras, and it makes a value 519, and this value 16 Sutras and value 13 as Upsutra gives us value 29. And when we will be coming at the organization format of chapter 13, which has the range of 29 shlokas, then we'll see how precisely the transcendental basis-based format of the organization of Sutra and Ganita Sutras is being availed, how it is lively at the format of chapter 13. Thereafter, we shall reach at this table. It is a formulation Argala, which is of TCL 30, then Kavach of value 13, Kila of value 13, then it is Sukt value 15, Shirsh value 15, Yantra 16, then Tantra 19, Mantra 24, Jantri 22, Devi 23, Dev 20, Devta 26, Surat 16, Samadhi 24, and Medha 24. Now these 15 formulations plus these 9 goddess transcendental names, 9 formulations, then these devils, 9 devils names, these are the basic formulations. These formulations deserves to be glimpsed. One shall reach at their organizations step by step, letter by letter, TC value wise, and then having the cumulative TCV formulations of the formulations, then one needs to reach at the transcendental code values and their geometric formats. Thereafter, it would be blissful that one is to be through these 9 depictions of the 9 goddess. Now, each goddess is having its own Vahan. Each goddess is having Ashtar and Shastra. Therefore, these Vahan, these Ashtar Shastras of the goddess, and the number of the arms of the goddess, and all these features which have been depicted and shown here are as per the inner evidence and enlightenment of Shri Durga Saptasati. Therefore, one shall be through these 9 murti, these 9 depictions, these 9 idols of these 9 transcendental incarnations of the goddess. Therefore, with these formulations and with these depictions of the features, when one is face to face with it, then one will be in a position to appreciate how our existence phenomenon, which is of the creators of space, force space, and force space is having a transcendental origin, means, and here happens to be a transcendental cavity, and this transcendental cavity, when having a strip off, then it leads to a Purusha format, and from the Purusha format there is a reach at the Brahm. Therefore, sadhakas who are at this particular stage, once they glimpse the transcendental cavity, and once they glimpse the way Lord Brahma, creator the supreme, Brahma value 29. So once this reach is there, then from this reach onwards, one is to go the Lord Brahma way, and Lord Brahma meditates within cavity of his own heart upon the transcendental seat, and with the grace of the transcendental Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma multiplies 10 folds, and these 10 folds are further when are reached at, then we reach at the transcendental phenomenon of transcendental Lord Shiva, meditating within cavity of his own heart upon the self-referral Lord Vishnu, and with the grace then the Transcendental Lord multiplies 12-fold as Dwadas Adityas. So Lord Shiva meditating upon the Lord Vishnu and Lord Vishnu meditating upon the Lord Shiva is going to be the ultimate phase and stage of reach of a complete enlightenment parallel to the enlightenment of the Vedic systems and Vedic knowledge, whose culmination as Vidya is a Durga Saptasati, and which in fact is going to be the initiation point of the sadhakas. Students, as sadhakas, are in fact having their initiation point with the knowledge Vidya of Shri Durga Saptasati. Let us be parallel to the values of Vidya and sadhana of Shri Durga Saptasati. Thank you very much.